Sorry guys, something happened there. It wouldn't let me goodness. Okay. It wouldn't let me show the video for some reason, so just 1 second. I am trying to change that on the Facebook post real quick. All right, I've posted it to the group now, so hopefully some people will see it and come back. I'm sorry. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Oops. So sorry about that. For some reason, it wasn't letting me switch to a different camera, and one of those days, yeah. Okay. Are you guys ready to put our bags together? I'm so excited. Hi, Linda. Hi, Cynthia. All right. So make sure you open up your interior zipper so that you can pull through. It's not a huge thing if you forget, because we're actually going to pull through our hole in our lining. So you could unzip that later, but just to get that out of the way right now. So we want to have our lining with the correct side on the inside, if that makes sense. So basically just how we finished it yesterday. So it's going to sit like that. with our wrong sides towards the outside, and we are going to snuggle in our exterior inside there. So what you want to do is make sure that you know which side you want as your front side here. So I am going to think like this. Shove it in there. Let's see. Just thinking how I want it. I think I did that backwards to how I want it. Okay, so I want the front of my bag, so where we have our label, if you put that in the front, I want that to go up against my zippered pockets and my double slip pocket there. So that's the side that I want to go against the front of my bag. And you can do just whatever way you want to do it. That's totally personal, up to you. If you did yours so that your zipper tail flips the other way, then you would probably want it to go the way I had it first. So you just want to tuck everything in, make sure that these tails of your zipper are tucked in out of the way. Make sure that your hardware is facing downward. Okay. Now, yesterday, Jessie told me a little trick that she found was really helpful in doing this part, is to take your double-sided tape and kind of flatten out your seams so that you have a nice, kind of not so many layers, if that makes sense. So you can take your double-sided tape and just kind of like flatten these seams out here. Good morning. You could also iron these, but you can see that when you do it this way, you're only going to have one layer there instead of two. So it's a bit helpful to, if you have issues with your seam allowance, you can definitely tape your seams down so that they're spread open. I will probably do one that way just to kind of show that I don't really have issues with my machine going through bulk. So I'm just taking a small amount of tape. Peel the backing off and get it off of my finger. Go away. And spread that seam open. And just lay it down on that. And then you can take another piece on the other side. And you don't need to do it all the way down. This is just kind of help you with the top stitching and the just sewing everything together. And there you can see you've got a nice flat seam. So you would want to do that on all of the seams that are kind of, I guess there's 1, 2, 3, 4, so 8 total, because you have your inside too, just to flatten those out. Another thing you can do if you have, those are not, here they are. If you have really thick seams, is this is a tool, I think it's actually for stained glass, but it's been kind of worked its way into the sewing community. But if you have, especially with vinyl, if you have a thick seam and you want to flatten it out, you can take these little rubber tipped pliers and just kind of smash it. And you just give it a gentle squeeze and it will really flatten out that seam. So it's like super helpful. This might be an easier way to show you, but just kind of really press it out, and then that's going to create a really nice flat seam. Key fob pliers, yeah. Definitely. They're super handy. They really help with thick, bulky seams. So like, and especially here, if you have like multiple layers from a pocket or something like that, you could just take that. And I usually like to use just the corner. So I'm sure that I'm not going too far into smashing my fabric. But you can just squeeze that and it really compresses that so that it's easier to get through your machine. That's super helpful if you have a low shank machine or like a domestic style machine. That is going to be your friend. And you can just get these on Amazon for like, I don't know, $10 or something. They're not too expensive. Okay, so now I do kind of have to have this close to me. So we're gonna try it right here. Maybe I can turn it just a little bit so that I can see a bit better. Is that okay for you guys? If you marked your centers, you would line that up here. I marked a couple of my centers, but didn't mark all of them because, you know, I'm me. You guys have been with me for 5 days. You know how I work. All right. So just pick a side, and I actually like to line up my seams here first. So because you want those to line up pretty well. So I am going to kind of flatten that seam out, and I'm going to take that piece and just line it right up, oops, right up in here. Oh, these, I love these things. I got a whole bunch of them one time at Michael's. The craft store had them on clearance, and I was just like, I need all of them. So I got a really good price on them, though. All right, so I'm just matching up that little corner. And I'm going to match up this corner as well. Put another one. This is the hardest day to actually film and have you guys be able to see what's going on. So I'm trying my best. Okay. And I'm just going to, I'm going to use probably all the clips I have on this thing just to clip it as good as I can. All right, so I have that matched up, and now I'm going to come over and do this side. I like working on opposite sides. So I'll pin that side, and then I'll come over here and pin this side, and then I'll go to the other flaps. So I really feel like these corners here are the most important thing to get nice and lined up. So oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. You're really close to my face. And if you did your 1/4 inch seam allowance on your interior pieces, your lining pieces, you should match up pretty perfectly here. I put my pins on the wrong way, or So you can definitely see right here where how opening up that seam would really be helpful to keep that a lot flatter. But all right, the sides are done. Now I'm going to come to move this back here. All right, so I'm just going to work up one side to this curve. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And you can actually see that mine is a little off, which is okay. It just means I probably cut my pattern piece wonky. So since that is a little off on that side, I'm going to start over here. And I'm spacing it out. Oops, sorry again. You really are right by my head. I'm just spacing it out kind of far apart for right now so that I can adjust later without having to pull off 15,000 pins. Okay, so not too bad. Just a little, that little curve right there is a little off, but we can make it work. So now I'm going to come back in and put a lot of pins in, or clips. I keep saying pins. I don't know why. I got pins on the brain, I guess. Okay. And next. Ooh, my arms are already tired, y'all. A little bit of a bubble there, so I'm just going to kind of work that to the edge. Okay. Let me move y'all back just a little bit. Hopefully you're going to be able to see without my head being in the way. I think that was the hardest part about today, is to try to figure out how to get you guys to be able to see and me be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so we're all ready to go here, and just pick a spot. I like starting on one of the flaps just because it's a nice, easy part to start at. It's easy access. You can obviously start wherever you'd like. Okay. All right. So You can either go ahead and baste all the way around, and if you're nervous, I would recommend you baste all the way around first. Let me see. But if you want to just jump right into it, you're going to do a 3/8 inch stitch, 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it because I don't like basting and then redoing it. But there's definitely recommend it if it's your first time doing this kind of bag this way, or if you're just nervous about, you know, making sure you get everything. It is helpful to do a base stitch because that way you can make sure you just caught everything, and then you go, it makes it easier to get a nice clean curve and everything when you're not worried about whether or not you're catching all of your fabric and keeping it all together. So that's why a base stitch in this situation would be super helpful. But yeah, like I said, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to turn my... You know what I didn't check was my bobbin. Watch us run out halfway through. All right. Coming to the first curve. You guys see okay what I'm doing? Now, this is where your hemostat is super helpful in the curves and things like that. And again, I like to hold it open so that I have 2 points that I can work with. Hopefully that's kind of shows. And then just go slow around that curve. You do kind of want to make that a nice slope so that you have a really pretty flap up top. All right. This is so hard to get a good view for you guys. And be able to see what I'm doing. If I can pull you guys closer. Nope, I'm getting in the way. Okay. This is going to have to work. All right, so just keep adjusting your fabric. You can also staple here, which might actually be a really good idea, just to keep everything in line as you're twisting and turning. If you do use staples, though, just be careful because they hurt if you catch them weird. Now, usually I am all kind of like right up here when I'm sewing, so this part, so I might have a little bit of trouble with keeping my fabrics lined up. So just bear with me. All right, so I am actually going to backstitch right here. In that corner, and then I'm going to lower my needle. I'm going to lift my presser foot. Oops. Spin my project completely around like so, and then get this flat. Yeah, kind of snuck up a little. We may have to go in and just take that just a little bit thicker afterwards and trim some of this off because it came creeping over just a little bit, but we'll be okay. I'll show you how to fix that. That's actually a good way to show you how to fix it. All right. And then I'm going to backstitch right here too, just to reinforce that corner because that is a kind of a stress point of the bag. So now just maneuver all of your fabric in whatever way will get it to have this part flat against your table. If you are using a domestic machine or a cylinder arm, this will be a lot easier for you because you can have more space to maneuver. But that's the only bad thing about like a flatbed, in my opinion, the flatbed industrials like this. All right, now I'm getting to that corner, so I'm going to adjust my fabric again until I can get this seam to lay as flat as possible. Okay. Yeah, definitely. That is super helpful to have that little piece that slides out. Okay. So now you can see I've got it pretty flat here. And I'm just going to slowly kind of work my way over because I do have kind of a bump in there. What piece is that? I think it's the edge of a slip pocket or something. So I'm going to try my best to flatten that out. And really, this is just how you got to do it. Just a couple stitches at a time. I'm going to back stitch and adjust. A couple stitches and adjust. It seems like very daunting to do this part of the project because it's so, there's so much there, but it'll all work out. And these parts are easy. It's just those corners. Oh, you're right. That's what it was. Yep, that's what it is in there. Kind of beefing it up right there. Hopefully I didn't stitch through that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have folded that out. Anyways, we'll figure that out if we come to that issue. Oops. Okay, let's try to flatten this out just a little bit. Yep, that's definitely what it is in there. That's why you follow the directions, folks, and make sure you print your pieces correctly. But we're making it work. All right, so we've come back to we've come around to the other flat side here. And look, you can see right here what I was talking about. It kind of shifted on me. So what I'll probably do is just trim this up a little bit and then come and kind of square that off a little bit better. But don't worry about it. If that happens, you can fix it. It's okay. Okay. Now I've got this piece flattened. Oh, I really wish you could see better. I've back stitch these corners. Oop, get it stuck. You might need to use like a hump jumper around those that part of your piece. Leave my needle down. Just kind of readjust my fabric. I'm going to go one more stitch because I'm a little short. And do a couple back stitches, needle down, and pivot. That made me think of the Friends episode, Pivot. Oh no! All right. Well, I sheared off my thread there, so might have a little burr on my needle or something that did that. So let me just rethread this real quick. Nope. All right, so I'm going to trim those threads from where I was over here, just to make sure that they don't get all tangled up in my machine. And I'm actually going to come back over on the straightaway that was there and do a couple of back stitches to kind of lock in those ones that I had done before, just so nothing unravels. All right. I'm going to change the way that curve is going a little bit. There, a little better. All right, make sure you back stitch. And now we can see just how far off we were on any of our corners. Okay, well, that one was perfect. This one is a little off, but shouldn't be too bad. I do need to come back here and take a little bit more of a larger seam allowance just to catch that part right there that I missed. And I like to do this as soon as I see it because I don't want to forget to go back and do that. So I like to just go ahead and do it right now. And whenever you are doing this part, I always like to do it from the opposite side that I did my stitches from first. So that way, because that's usually whenever you're going to find that you've missed something, is it was the fabric underneath that you didn't catch. So if you do it this way, you can just see where you need to fix it. And I find it's easier to do it that way. All right. So now that's nice and secured. Let's see if we missed any other corners. This one is a little close, but that's also where that recessed zipper is. Let me see. I'm just sticking my hand in there to try to see where my little flappy do is. All right, well, I didn't catch that one or that one. Okay, that one's good too. And I'm kind of folding it up out of the way too at the same time. Yay, I didn't hit any of them. Okay, so while we're here, look at the corners. That one is okay. This one I am going to just do a little bit bigger of a seam allowance on, just to catch that lining a little bit better. It is completely cut, but it's just right on the line, and so I don't want to risk it coming undone. Especially since this bag is kind of designed to hold things that are a bit heavier. So I want to make sure that my stitches and everything is nice and secure. All right. Okay, so now that we have everything all stitched together, you're going to want to trim your seam allowance and trim your curves up here. If you have a pair of pinking shears, I would recommend doing pinking shears on the curves. And that's what I am going to do. And I'm just going to do it off screen because I'm going to do it over my trash can so I don't have a huge mess. So give me just a second. Make sure that you're not clipping into any of your stitches. Just want to take some of the bulk out of that curve. Ooh, these pinking shears. I love what they do, but man, they sure do hurt to use on like thicker stuff. Okay. And what I'm actually going to do for these areas, I'm not going to trim them down, but I am just going to take like a little bit of a nip right in there. These scissors are not going to do that. Maybe I'm going to take the tiniest little nip in here just to kind of loosen that up just a bit. And I'm not even going all the way to the seam, not like maybe halfway. And I find that's helpful to kind of make it a little bit more loose in that area. Kind of exactly what you would be doing if you were doing a little nip into a curve. Okay, guys, are you ready? I'm ready. All right, so now you get to decide how you want to pull this thing out. And I'm actually going to turn you guys a little so that I can have this more in my lap. There we go. And just, I personally pull the exterior out this way through this hole. And that's why we left that nice big hole in there in the lining, because it makes it so much easier. Could you imagine trying to turn it through this little pocket hole? There's no way. It would be so hard. And be gentle with this part. You don't want to rip anything that you just worked so hard to finish. I know it doesn't look like I'm being gentle, but I am, I promise. And I'm going to take my little, here's my littlest one. Just want to work missing one somewhere. But I'm just going to take my little wooden tool here and just rub it along the seams to try to get that seam poked out as best as possible. And just be gentle when you're doing this. Whatever you use to poke it through, just be gentle so that you're not ripping any of your stitches, any of your seams. And just roll it between your fingers. That helps too. I use my fingernails to find it helpful. I know you're not supposed to use them as tools, but I do. It's looking so good. All right, so I've got that flap all poked out. Now I'm going to shove my lining into the bag where it belongs. And I'm not going to close it up yet. I want to top stitch first. Got a little bit of bunching here. Try to roll it out. And a lot of this is due to the fact that my zipper thing was in the way. Because you see, it should not be this, it shouldn't go all the way. Yours should be more in So pretend it's more in like that. And then you'll have a lot less trouble here at these seams trying to get it to match up. Roll these. Kind of wiggle back and forth and roll. That's your best tactic for getting those all pressed out. Okay, so now I am going to use clips to just hold it in place so that we can do the top stitching. And I'm only going to put my clips on probably about like 1/4 of an inch because I don't want them going too far down and like leaving huge dents, but it's kind of unavoidable here because you really do want to kind of keep it closed, or not closed, but kind of rolled over and towards the edge like that. But and just kind of work it until it's how you want your little seam to be. And like always, if you're using an ironable fabric, I would suggest you do that. You could also, with vinyl like this, you could set it outside in the sun for like 30 minutes or something like that to let it warm up. I know some people have thrown it in the dryer. I'm afraid to do that. You could hit it with a steam iron to get it nice and like loose so that you can maneuver it a bit easier into place, and then let it cool off and clip, and then do this part. I've also hit it with a hair dryer. So yeah, this is definitely making it a bit harder on myself here with that recessed zipper panel being longer. But if you do it like the instructions say, you should be fine. You would definitely have more working room. And that piece too, in your pattern pieces, if you haven't already started and you're watching this ahead of time, when you're printing out your pattern pieces, make sure you're using your computer, because one of the pieces, one of the pages is supposed to be printed in portrait, not landscape, or vice versa. So make sure, otherwise, if you try to print it out on your phone, it'll try to just do them all in the same direction. And that piece, which includes your recessed zipper piece, will be printed in the wrong direction. It won't be the right size. So It's important to do it from your computer. All right, sorry, I know this might be boring. Just trying to think of helpful tips during this whole process, but all right. Now we take a deep breath and increase our tension. Get everything out of the way. Maybe grab a drink. All right, I'm going to do my best to try to put it so you guys can see, but promises. And you know what? I'm going to change my bobbin. Oh, it was plenty full enough. Yeah, I think it's okay. I'll keep it in there. I was like, because that would be my luck, running out of bobbin on the top stitching. Okay, now if you have a machine like this one whose top and bottom stitches look pretty much identical, you can sew it from the inside, but I'm still going to sew it from the outside doing top stitching. Oh, I'm sorry, I did forget to, I am not using it on my bag. So before we actually would have flipped it, or you could still add it now through the hole in the lining. You could add in your heavy stabilizer, or you could have attached it before if you have a stabilizer that is iron-on. Yeah, I'm actually not using it because I'm using such a kind of a thicker vinyl and the waterproof canvas, which is pretty hefty on its own. So I'm sorry about that. All right, and I am going to start on the back, right in the middle, and I'm not going to back stitch. I'm going to be pulling my threads through and tying them off. So, but like I said before, I really like to start on this top rounded piece just to get it situated easily and kind of give yourself a nice starting point. I like fusing it beforehand. Yeah. What would make it a little bit more difficult is in the turning process, which is why a lot of people do it after turning and just insert it in. But for me personally, yeah. And also with people who have maybe a domestic or something that can't handle that much thickness in your seams, it's a lot easier to insert afterwards. But usually I just don't use a whole lot of heavy stabilizers just because of the materials that I choose to work with. They're kind of on their own pretty thick. So, but yeah, if you want those real firm sides, make sure you put something in like a, I don't know, what are you using? A Peltex, is it 70, 71? the one that's super thick, or a Decaville heavy or light, or no, I wouldn't use a light. Yeah, exactly. And it helps you if you insert it after doing your top stitching. That way, like, you can smush the bag like I am here. Yeah, Peltex 70. Okay. So, but if you had that stabilizer in already, you wouldn't be able to smush it as easily as I am. And you might have wrinkles in it. So it just kind of depends on what you use, what your fabrics are using, what kind of machine you have. There's a lot that kind of goes into it. All right. Switch over to a top stitch length. Make sure you adjust your tension if you need to. And I am just going to go maybe like an inch or so and then lift it up to see if my tension is okay, or if I have loops and I need to make it tighter. So it's not lacking something. The needle must be. Sometimes your machine just has a bad day. That would probably be real handy, yeah. Like, give it a lot of support there on the bottom. Actually, I have some of those mats from the Dollar Tree. That's a really good idea. All right. Are you feeling better now? Can I tangle again? I think it's because I messed with my bobbin. And if that happens, just pull it out and try your best to line it back up in the hole that you went through, because I had gone a couple stitches there. So if you line it up in that hole again, you won't risk getting a perforation or anything like that. We're going to be nice now. Yes, we are. All right, now let me just see. My needle is down. I'm going to turn my work so I can see, and it looks like it's perfect. Well, I'm going to tighten it just a little bit. Ooh, that was not a pleasant sound. Sorry if anyone is wearing headphones. Make sure you're pushing all of your hardware and everything out of the way. This recess zipper is just really getting in my way. Trying to pull it out of the way from the underneath so that I get a nice clean stitch. Okay. Now I've got a bit of a hump right here from a seam, and so I'm going to walk my machine over that. And I like doing it this way because you know that you're going to be going in the right direction. Sometimes if you try to do that while you have your presser foot, I mean, not your presser foot, but while you're got the pedal to the metal, it might chew up that area on your vinyl. So definitely hand crank over that. At least for me, that gives me the best outcome. And I'm just going to continue hand cranking down to this part here. I don't know if you guys can even see that. And I'm coming up to a pretty thick area here. And my presser foot is wanting to kind of go under the slip pocket. So I'm going to fold up, and this is just like a little tab that was excess from a project I did. And that's kind of what I use as my hump jumper. So I'm just going to fold that up and stick it under the back of my presser foot, and that just lifts it up a little bit so that I can work my way to this piece right here without as much trouble. I'm just going to go a stitch, and I'm pushing it all the way up to that needle, and it just helps get you right over that bump. Okay. Now I'm going to turn. And my lining rolled just a little bit, so I'm actually going to try to pull that down just a little bit from the inside. Oops. Make sure you're always putting your needle down before you adjust. That sound is just horrendous. Yeah, so see, if you had put your stabilizer in already, that would be really hard to kind of maneuver this. I'm going to lock it up to that turn. Pivot. Any area that seems like it's going to have a little bit of trouble going over, I just like to hand crank it over that. So this area where we have those extra stitches here or folds where we combine these pieces, I just like to, you know, just go slow and hand crank over those particular pieces. deal with that. Zipper panel again. Okay, so again, I'm coming up on that piece from the zipper panel, and I'm actually going to fold this again because it's pretty high. Just walk it up that hill. And once it goes over it, it just pops right out. Trying to get out of there. All right. Ooh. Take a break. My arms are tired. But it's so worth it in the end. But definitely, if you are trying to sew all in one day, save this for the next day because you don't want to do this part when you're tired. You'll just probably mess up and be really sad and wish you had waited. All right, this corner is a bit bulky. Tighten up my tension because there's a lot of layers right here. Goodness, no. What was that, a jet? All right, almost there. Fold this out of the way. You will not have nearly as much trouble with that as I have been because I cut mine the wrong size. make sure these threads are up out of the way so you don't run over them, so we can tie them in the back. Coming back. All right, and so I'm pulling them to the side, the interior of the bag, just so the exterior is nice and clean. You could also like hand stitch, leave your tails long and like hand stitch them into the inside of the bag so you don't have any kind of seam on the outside or any kind of knot. Be careful when you're burning this or melting this here so that you don't melt your vinyl. Just kind of bend it back and press it down. We've got it top stitched together. All right, so now that we have it top stitched together, we need to close up that hole. So reach down through your pocket and pull out the lining. Here, let me turn you guys just a little bit. Oop, there's my face. So first pull out your pocket, and that's just your pocket lining. Now we want to grab the actual lining, and this part can be kind of difficult to get it through and understand what's happening in there. So just be gentle with your pulling until you can get out everything you need to stitch up. Okay, I think I have it all outside of my pocket. Make sure you push that pocket lining back out of the way so you don't accidentally stitch it to the bottom of your lining. All right, and I am going to use pins here, or clips, just to close that up. You do not have to clip this at all, but I think it helps my brain know where things are going. Okay. Turn you back around. Make sure you switch your stitch length back to your instruction stitch length. And we're just going to stitch in between those marks that gap that we left open there. And this is just closing up the base of our lining. And I did go a little past on each side just to make sure I catch all of it. That way, if anything kind of tore open a little bit while we were pulling our bag through, we made sure we caught it. Probably should have turned my tension down a little bit. Okay, so now take that and shove it back down into your bag through the pocket. And you can still access the inside of the bag through this pocket here if you need to poke any corners or, you know, adjust anything. You can just push here the lining down into the bag and make sure that we've got everything closed up and looking good. And it does look pretty dang good inside there, if I do say so myself. All right, so the last step is to just pull the edges here of our pocket lining, straighten that out. And I usually do one side because this is waterproof canvas. It's kind of doesn't like to fold as nicely. If you use like a cotton, this would just fold right over perfectly for you because of how we folded over that 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch when we stitched up our pocket. I'm just going to make it look real nice. And if you wanted to add a tag in here, a little woven label, you could certainly just stick it right in there. I already have a couple on this bag, so I'm not going to add another one. And of course, if you like to do this by hand stitching it, go right ahead. That's not my jam, so I am not going to be doing that. It does look really nice when you do it that way though, but it's just, I don't have the patience. So I'm just going to do 1/8 of an inch seam allowance here, just to make sure I close up that pocket. All right, tuck that back in. And you can stick, you know, a chopstick or whatever you like to turn with. You can stick something down in there to kind of poke those corners out. The waterproof canvas is pretty stiff, so sometimes it's a little bit harder to get it to go back in there. Ooh. Yes, we're almost done. All right. And I like to zip that up because that means it's done. Close that. And there we go. Oh, it's so pretty. All right. So now we just need to do what I did with my strap end. Are you strapping? Now, if you wanted to, you could definitely just use a coordinating piece of vinyl to put on your zipper end, and just do like a double fold over on there. But if you do have one of these really nifty little zipper ends, they're pretty cool. Oh, I guess I should put my zipper pull back on before I do that, huh? Yep. All right, so if you took your zipper pull off like I did, now is the time to put it back on. Not quite. There we go. Nope, too much the other way. Let's see how that looks. I always like to test to make sure that it looks right. See, went too far over on that one. And that's another reason I like to put my zipper pull on in the end, because it can look straight in the beginning and then go wonky whenever you're putting everything together. So if you can wait and put it in at the very end, you can adjust it so that it lines up perfectly. So see, I'm actually offsetting mine a little bit, a couple teeth there, to try to get that to line up just a little bit better. And you can see it did. Now it's, oh, now you can see it's a lot straighter than it was before. So let me close that up. Zipper pull is installed. And I'm just gonna push that in there. And I think I'm gonna cut mine about here. I did leave it a lot longer just in case I wanted it to be longer, but I think I'm gonna trim it right here. And that's just personal preference. Come on, lighter. Seal those ends, and I've got to grab my glue. Give me just 1 second. I left it on the counter. Rolling over stuff. All right, these have really nice protectors on them. Can sometimes be hard to get off. Okay, so what I like to do is take my glue. Hey, Mom, could you get me the screwdriver that's over there? A tiny little Phillips head? A screwdriver? Tiny little one? A tiny little? Yes, please. Had to call in my assistant. All right, so what I like to do is, this is just fabric fusion. Any kind of like glue will work, to be honest. The Beacon 5-in-1 is also a really good one. This is just what I have on hand. So, all right, so that's down inside there. I'm gonna set that to the side for a second and prep my zipper tab. So what you want to do in order to get it to fit in that little hole is fold in your zipper tape to make just a little kind of a little burrito to go in there. Thank you. All right. And then you're going to push that down into the glue and push it all the way down as far as it will go. And then your end cap piece will come with a little screw that you will need to put in right there. And I like to just kind of fluff this out just a little bit where it ends, just to kind of make it look as pretty as possible and fill out the edges there. And then we're going to put our screw. This is not the easiest thing to do with these nails. All right, and if you have an electric screwdriver, this would be so much easier. But, oh, please don't fall into the void. I think the screwdriver is just a little bit too big. That's why. Okay, well, I'll put the screw in later. It's going to fall around though. I stole my husband's little one that he uses for computers, but I think he stole it back. He's got this nice little set of teeny tiny little screwdrivers. I can just start it with my hands a little bit and then try. Oh, it's going. All right, that's in there enough for me to not lose it, but I will come back and straighten that up and tighten it up, I mean, before I send out my bag. Okay, so last step is the handles, and then we're done. Let me grab mine. Now, if you have strap ends, now would be the time to install them. I do not have any strap ends on hand. I ordered some, but they did not show up in time for this project. So I'm just going to trim my ends nicely. And most strap ends are going to be kind of the same process as the what we just did with that zipper end, where you have little tiny screws. But then there are also some that you can use the pliers that I showed you a minute ago. These guys. There are some that use they have prongs on them, and you just squish them together with these. That's those are actually really nice and really handy. So I recommend those. But mine did not come on time, so we're just going to leave them raw. And if you wanted to, you could also edge coat the edges of your straps here. That would also give a really nice finish. But because these are vinyl, they're not going to ravel in any way. All I'm doing here with a lighter is just, if there's any fuzzies from the backing, I'm just melting those away. Okay. Now, what's awesome about the pattern is you get these cute rivet guides that are so much easier than trying to figure out where things go on your own. So my punch. And what I do is I don't even mark them. I literally just pin it on like so. And then punch right through. And this is going to perfectly line up your strap ends around that anchor point, your rectangle. It's so handy to have this. See, when you fold it up, they line up perfectly and you have a beautiful little handle. This bag, I just love it so much. I hope my aunt loves it as much as I do. Those little things get on my nerves so bad. The little rounds that come out of the punch. And you can also do this with a hand, or not a handheld, that's what I'm using, with a tabletop press. If you have that available. I have the attachment to be able to do it with mine, but honestly, I think this is easier and faster. And if you're using all leather or all faux vinyl for this, you're going to need a longer rivet. I tried to use the standard size on my first one, and yeah, it did not work. You definitely have to have a longer one. If you did the half and half, I think you could probably get away with it. What size did you use, Jessie, on yours when you did the half and half, or the two-toned? Because I know you said that reduces the bulk when you do it that way. So you could probably use your standard, like, what's the standard, 8mm? What did they do with my rivets? Okay. All right, so I think these are 12mm. I'm just going to dump them out. I think a standard, what I usually use is like an 8mm length. Now, you can decide whether you want your handle to go this way so that it looks really polished from when you're holding the bag, or you can put it the other way so that when you have your handles down, it looks polished. So that it would give you that kind of look. Oops. Y'all didn't tell me that I forgot to adjust the camera. Okay, so for me, I like putting it in this way though. So I'm going to, you'll see, I'm going to wrap it around this way so that whenever the handles are up, I have the nice side out. So yeah, so and another thing, if you do have a mix pack and you want the outside to match the rest of your bag, you can use the post from another one that's maybe a different color or not a perfect match, and you can use the cap, like this little piece, from the color that you want, and that way, whatever way you want to be the front is matching um, the rest of your hardware. It's just, oh, I love this sew bag. That's also really handy when you're just riveting something where you have a rivet that only one side of it's going to show ever. That's super handy. Like on these here, if you didn't have, like, I'm not too worried that these are matte black and these are shiny black, but I could always use the matte black side to go on there, or use the cap from like a gold or something like that that I'm probably never going to use and have a lot of. You can hide those and use them inside of inside your project, and you don't have to worry about it. Look at it, it's so cute. Ugh, I just love it. All right. I mean, I think we all kind of started with one of those Amazon packs, or, you know, that have like 3 different sizes and 4 different colors, just because we needed something. And then we have that pile of colors and sizes that we never use. Please tell me I'm not the only one. So I'm also a collector of a very extensive craft collection. So it's not a hoard, it's a collection. Oops. And you can see how, had I used some strap ends there, how that would just be so much more polished, but we're going with it. And there's probably enough room for me to go ahead and add them after, whenever they come in. Yeah, exactly. So you can use the ones that you use so much, and you can stretch them out just by using the backs or whatever of the other sizes. Super handy. And you're actually using what you bought instead of just sitting in the corner. All right. I'm not going to make you guys sit here and watch me press those rivets in. I'm going to move you though so you can see our bag. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, let me push that back out. I love it. I cannot wait to see you guys' bags. I'm going to post this in the group with the link, just like always. please, please, please post your pictures because I can't wait to see them. If you guys have any more questions, you know what to do. And thank you so much for, yes, remember to enter the giveaway for the sew along. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for these 5 days and going through this bag with me. It's been so much fun. Hopefully we can do another one in the future. If you guys have another bag idea, another sophisticated bag that you'd like to do this with, let me know. I'm game for doing it. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. Post your pictures, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. You're very welcome.